A very good Erev Shabbos, Parshat Ki Savo, to the Shevel community and beyond. This week's Shabbos begins at 7:29. We are getting earlier, and finishes at 8:39 tomorrow evening. The planned conjunction service with the United Synagogue has been postponed to next week by the request of the United Synagogue. So all being well, that will be taking place on the 11th of September. Yard sites for this week is also fairly short. Today, Beryl Benjamin has yard site for her mother, and on Wednesday, Kath Lawrence has yard site for her mother. And that's it for this week's yard site list. Because it is the month of Elul, we are still blowing every day the shofar, so as to remind ourselves that Rosh Hashanah is on the way. Don't forget, we're adding the Psalm morning and evening, Psalm 27, the David Hashem Ori. We are, of course, up and running in Shul still, since this is our fourth week, all being well, on Shabbos. And you're most welcome to join us. This week is a Seder of Ki Savo, which is a bittersweet Seder. It's got some very nice parashas at the beginning, and it's also got the list of curses. 98 of them all in total. This is similar to the pattern that you will find just before Shavuos, where we read Parshas Bechul Kosa at the end of the book of Leviticus, which has 49, exactly half that amount of curses in that Sedra. Then there's a gap of 1 week, and then we have the festival of Shavuot. Same thing here. We're reading tomorrow the Teichacha with the 98 curses. Then there's a gap, Parshas and Tzom Vayelech, and then we have Rosh Hashanah. This is interpreted by the Kabbalists as being a preparation for those holy days. And being that Rosh Hashanah is a great deal holier than Shavuot, so we need twice as much preparation. You say, how's that preparation? Because all these curses are not meant to be as negative as they sound. They are, if you like, things that God brings to us. We shouldn't need it, and we shouldn't pray for it, but it has happened as a way of cleaning us out, if you like, purifying ourselves in preparation for the holy day. Now, of course, we don't want this. We ask the Almighty, please, if you have to purify us, will you find an alternative route? But God has said that all of these things could happen. Nowadays, we don't have prophets. We don't know why things happen, and we are very careful to steer clear from giving interpretations why things happen. Because if you don't know, don't say anything. On a happier note, by comparison, the beginning of the Parsha talks about Bikurim. Bikurim are the first fruits of harvest, the nicest fruits of harvest, from this summer's crops. So, round about this time of year, they would get, or maybe earlier, they would get together the best fruits, put them in a basket, and take it to Jerusalem and give it to the Kohen. Unlike a sacrificial offering which is burnt on the altar, this went to the Kohen. And these fruits were an acknowledgement that everything I have is a gift from the Almighty. And when a person was to give his basket of first fruits, he would make a declaration before the Almighty, and he will say, I tell before you the Lord your God, Lord my God, or he says, this is what God is instructing us to say, that you should say before the Lord your God, Kivasi el haaretz, I've come into the land which has been sworn to our forefathers to give to us. The Kohen then takes the basket from his hand and he puts it before the altar. And then the person who's giving the gift of the first fruits was to make the following declaration. You should know that our forefathers, there were many attempts to destroy us. We went to Egypt, we lived there for some time, we became a great nation, and the Egyptians did badly to us, and so we called to the Almighty, and he took us out with a great and mighty arm. He's then brought us to this place, the land of Israel. He's given us this land flowing with milk and honey, and I have worked the earth, planted the seeds, and the fruit has grown. So therefore I'm bringing the first of my fruits of the earth, and I'm giving it to the Almighty. I'm rejoicing in the good that he has given me, but I'm not forgetting who the giver is, and that is the Almighty. This mitzvah, which only existed in those days, I don't see that one could do it now. This mitzvah is an important part of our psychology, in that we recognize that what comes to us is a gift from the Almighty. How it comes, there are various ways. We go to work, we earn a wage, and that's how we live. You earn more, you earn less. You'll never earn any more than what the Almighty wants you to do. If a person's a businessman and is very successful, with a bit of thought, he realizes that his success is a product, or her success is a product of the skills and abilities that he or she was created with when they were born, and a product of good luck, the right people, so many different aspects which are involved in business that they all come together to make a person being successful. If a person has a lot of mazel but has no seichel, they'll lose their fortune. If a person has a lot of seichel but has no mazel, they still won't make a fortune. You need to have a bit of both, and any good businessman will tell you it just happened to happen at the right time and made a deal, managed to make an investment, da-da-da. Or if, let's say, you're a rabbi and your ability to earn a living as being a rabbi is because God gave you the opportunities to learn and to study, so you're brought up that way, and therefore able to acquire the necessary attainment of a rabbi, and thereby enable yourself to be employed as such. But ultimately, one has to have this acknowledgement that I'm giving the best of my fruits, which the Almighty has given to me. This acknowledgement that what we have is a gift from the Almighty is an important point. And that explains why Moses, when he was spoken about by his family, and God chastises them and says, how could you speak about Moshe? He is b'chol beis ne'emonhu. It's in the book of Numbers. He says, he's my faithful servant. He is the humblest of all people. You will ask a question, how could Moses be humble? Do you know what he did? It's very difficult to stay humble when you lead the Jewish people. You split the Red Sea. Before that, you did all those miracles in Egypt. You start thinking to yourself that you are omnipotent. You're a little bit sort of an extension of the good Lord. I can do wondrous deeds. And Moses was a very great man who was able to understand the Torah and give it to the Jewish people, was able to communicate with the Almighty. So how can you say he was humble? Explains Chassidus, why he was humble? because he didn't attribute all these virtues to himself. He says, I'm very lucky. Firstly, I'm born into a very good home. My mother's Yocheved, my father is Amram, two of the holiest and wisest people of the generation. They in turn were the descendants of Levi, who was one of Jacob's sons, and I can list Yaakov, Yitzchak, and Abraham as my great-grandparents, Abraham being the seventh generation from me, or I am the seventh generation from him. So if anybody else had been born into this family, had my gifts, my strengths of character, none of which I earned, I was all given to me, and had been directed by the Almighty himself, communicated with God, well, of course they do the same job as me. In fact, they might even do a better job than me. So he never became haughty and full of his own importance, because he had this acknowledgement that what I have is a gift from God. Not always easy to see, but easy to understand. And therefore we should always thank the Almighty for whatever we have. Even the little things like waking up in the morning and opening eyes, these are all gifts from the Almighty. In fact, the final verse of the book of Psalms is, Kol haneshama tahalel kol hallelujah. Every soul must praise the Almighty, hallelujah. And the Gemara says on this, Kol haneshama, you could reread as Kol haneshima, every breath. And every time that a person breathes in and out, he ought to say praise to the Almighty. Thank God I could breathe in, and thank God I can breathe out. Because there are a million things happening at that moment, all of which one is completely unaware of, but they keep me alive. And so the thanks to the Almighty should always be there, just like those first fruits, which is the first mitzvah of the Torah. And on that note, may I wish you a very good Shabbos.